Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am so glad that you are here for New Awareness for New Actions. This is our monthly live chat series from Genetic Edge Coaching. And here we explore how understanding your unique wiring can lead to more aligned and empowered choices. And we meet here on the first Friday of every month. And since May is Mental Health Awareness Month, today's topic is Wired to Feel, the Genetics of Mental Health. And we're going to look at how your genetic blueprint might influence things like anxiety or motivation or attention, and what you can do to support your mind more compassionately. So let us dive in with this. What if some of the things that you have struggled with, like anxiety or low motivation or distractions, they were not signs of failure, but signs of how your brain is wired? I am Kimberly Jürgen. I am not a doctor or a therapist. I am a coach who works in that intersection of behavioral genetics and personal growth. And that means that I help people to understand how their genetic blueprint influences the way that they feel, the way they think, and the way they function, so that we can all make more aligned and sustainable choices in our lives. Now, again, to be crystal clear, what I'm sharing today is not a replacement for mental health care or for clinical treatment. So if you are struggling with depression or anxiety or attention challenges that are impacting your quality of life, please seek the support of a qualified medical or mental health professional. And that said, understanding how your brain is wired through the lens of genetics, it can be a powerful act of self-compassion. So let's explore some common patterns that many of us experience. And to make this stick, we are going to go on a little mental safari. But first, let me see a quick show of hands or put an emoji in the chat. Have you ever thought, why do I react so strongly to things that other people seem to just brush off? Or maybe you've thought, why can't I just stay motivated like everybody else?
Yeah, I thought that.
Anybody feeling seen by this?
Yeah. I've done that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, those questions, they might be rooted in your genetic tendencies. So behavioral genetics looks at how our DNA influences things like attention and emotional reactivity and stress response. But here's the key: genes are not destiny. Think of them like the default settings on your phone. You can customize and update how they show up, and knowing your starting point is going to make things so much easier as you navigate your life. So let's begin our safari by looking at 3 types of wiring patterns and the animals that are going to help us to understand them. So we begin our journey with the meerkat brain. Now, this is when you may be over alert and you may have anxiety tendencies. So meerkats, they are always alert. They are scanning for threats. But some of us are going to be wired that way. Our amygdala, that's the brain's threat detector, might be hypersensitive. And this doesn't necessarily mean that you have an anxiety disorder. It may simply mean that you experience the world with a high alert nervous system. So have you ever over-prepared or overthought or felt on edge even in calm situations? Well, that might be your meerkat brain that's just keeping watch, even when there is no lion in sight. And then we have the panda brain. Now, this is a low drive brain. So you may have depression tendencies if you have a panda brain. Now, pandas, they conserve energy. They are not lazy, they are selective. And some of us are genetically wired with a temperament that's going to lean toward introspection or withdrawal or a slower dopamine cycle. And this can show up as low energy or difficulty in initiating action. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you are clinically depressed, but it might mean that your brain needs different types of stimulation or motivation to feel engaged. So you might have a panda brain if you have ever felt numb or disconnected, even when you are doing everything right. That could be your panda brain calling for just a different type of nourishment. And next we have the monkey brain. Now, monkey brains are curiosity driven. And so here you may have an ADHD tendency. So monkeys are playful, they are fast moving, they are easily distracted, and they are brilliant at solving puzzles. So if your attention is pulled toward novelty, ideas, and movement, then you might have traits that are often associated with ADHD. Doesn't necessarily mean you have it, but it does suggest that your brain thrives on stimulation and creativity. So ask yourself this: have you ever hyper-focused for hours on something that you love, but then you totally space out when you're doing just basic tasks?
Yes. Yeah.
That could be
That
your
was
monkey
me.
brain choosing stimulation over structure. Now, here's the big question. If this is how you're wired, how can you take care of yourself? Now, these are not going to be cures or treatments. These are simply practices that are going to support your natural tendencies and create space for greater well-being. So, how do you support that meerkat brain? So who felt like they fell into the meerkat? And you know what? You may float between them. There may be times when you're a little bit of each.
Thank you. That's what I was just about to, I was like, yes, all of them. Okay. Speak to me. Help me be better, Kimberly.
That is me. I am situationally, I may find myself in any of these or a weird Frankenstein of all three at the same time. Awesome. So here we go. So if you fall into the meerkat brain, you want to, here's some three things that you might consider trying. To structure things so that it's going to help to calm your brain. So predictable routines are going to reduce that internal stress. Also, grounding practices. This is going to be walking, breathing, or even doing quiet hobbies that's going to help your brain to feel safe. Also, you can reduce stimulation whenever possible. That means canceling out the noise, limiting the clutter, and avoiding that screen overload. So, what is one area of your life that feels chaotic but could become calmer with just a little bit more structure?
Hey, I just wanna, like, so structure calms the system. So one of the things that makes me go into overwhelm or overdrive is, let's say I have one big project and I'm just like intimidated by it. And so if I just, there was a time before I'm in burnout recovery now. There was a time before I burnt out where I could just sit and make a to-do list and sort of structure it that way. But now in burnout recovery, I'm more often sort of a mix of all of them. And so what ends up happening is if that to-do list would be too long, making the to-do list would just add to the overwhelm. So then I just pick away. So I use the monkey brain to choose a part of the project that's going to, interest me and motivate me to actually get started on the project. And I just pick away at those little tasks without a to-do list until I've picked away at enough of them that I know that to-do list will be something I can deal with. So is that an example of sort of the Frankenstein of all three?
It is a little bit, yes. It's what I love is how aware you are of what you need and how you are flexible enough to adapt to meet the needs that you have. That is what is so incredibly fantastic. That
a lot of work.
Yes, it can be, for sure. But it's about realizing that there is no one answer. That there, like, if let's say you use the grounding practices and you do walking, that's not always going to answer every situation. So having a a menu of many things to choose from, and you find the one that fits for this moment. And I love how you said, like, a list can be overwhelming. Yeah, some people are motivated by those lists, and that very much is where actually you're previewing a little bit of what we're going to talk about with the monkey brain. And some people do love that, but some are just going to be, like you said, overwhelmed. So I love how tuned in you are to yourself. And that really is the key, is recognizing that we are very complex beings and we are amazing the way that we are, and adapting solutions to us is the best self-care that we can do. Anybody else want to add? Any of my other Genetic Edge folks want to add a response there? Awesome. Thank you. Do you feel complete in that? Did that help?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Thank you. So, has anybody thought of an area in their life that's a little chaotic, where you could become calmer, maybe by introducing something here for your meerkat brain? Let me open up the chat. Maharima, Batman's ability. Yeah, utility belt. Perfect. Based on the situation, what do you need? You're going to have it handy. Exactly. Exactly. Very good. Very good. All right. So now let's talk about how we support the panda brain. So when it comes to the panda brain, put my coffee down. Actually, it's tea. Here's how you can support that. One thing is morning sunlight, because that is going to stimulate the serotonin production. Now, I'm in Los Angeles and we happen to be very overcast today, so it's not always going to be an option for you. There are those lights, though, that you can have that can simulate. Is that the right word? That's not the right word. That can produce the same effect. Simulate. Thank you. Simulate. Yes. Next is to celebrate those small wins. So this is where maybe checking things off a list is going to help you to re-engage your sense of motivation. And then you can consider gentle connections. And these can be things like short texts or voice notes to others, and that can lift the emotional fog without being a drain on your other energies. And again, these are just going to help you support that low brain energy. It's not like I'm suggesting these as treatments for clinical depression. So, what is one tiny win that you could set yourself up for today? And know that even getting dressed, that counts. Some days that's a big enough win. All right, let's move on to the monkey brain. So how do we support, for those of us who experience the monkey brain? Well, you can do dopamine scheduling. And this is where you pair a dull task with a movement or a reward. You can also shift your environment when you get stuck, because new locations can boost your focus. And this can be super simple. Like, even like if you're working at a table, move to a different side of the table. Even that small change, because now you're looking at a whole different part of the room, or you're looking out a window, or something is changing, that can support that monkey brain. And then you can also make tasks playful, where you turn chores into missions or challenges. I know my mom used to do that with us when my brother and I were little. She would turn everything into a challenge, even when it came to like filing. She was an administrative assistant. We would go to the office and help her, and she would have us do filing just so we had something to do. But she would turn that into a game. So, and I always think of that when I do my own adult filing now, for paper and things that I have. But is there anything that you could turn into a game today? Anything that you don't like doing?
I'd say there's many things I don't like doing. I think we're all there, and some of adulting we don't care to do. But I like the fact that, make it playful, make it fun. Sometimes like setting the timer and see if you can, beat the clock kind of thing, make that entertaining and stuff like that. I like the idea of shifting environments too. That's also a good thing to do. I'm in the Midwest in Chicago, and it's finally becoming spring, and just sitting outside and doing some work outside on the patio or on the deck, just shifting that.
Nice. And I find that whenever I'm doing those tasks like vacuuming or dusting, the ones that really have no dopamine hit at all, I will just turn on some really great music and I will dance my way through the task. And that gives me that energy hit. Anything else folks want to share? Awesome.
I just added this in the chat, but like one of the things that I love doing is taking a boring task and breaking it into mini tasks. And then I'm currently experimenting it with something like, if I'm doing a really boring task, I'll do it for 10 minutes. And then as soon as those 10 minutes are done, I will follow it up with a 10-minute space of just chilling out, right? Like, so it's 10 minutes of focused work that I don't really want to do. And then 10 minutes of stuff that might excite me, like, watching fan art or reading fan fictions or something like that, that might make me go like, that was a reward. Now again, and then it keeps repeating until I'm done with the work, and that works a lot. So yeah, no.
Excellent. Stacking those things. Brilliant. Brilliant. Yes, we have a question.
Well, no, I just holding my place in line to contribute, I guess. I love that what Madhurima just said. It's it's something that I've come across that one a lot. Like, work for 10 minutes, take a break for 10 minutes. And then eventually that in that 10-minute workspace, if I'm lucky, I'll hit the zone, and come up for air an hour and a half later. But even when I don't hit the zone, I can do that all day. And like you said, end up having a fairly productive day on a day where otherwise I would have done not much. Something I encountered about a year ago on a really one of those days where I just freaking can't, no matter what I do, it's gonna suck, but I'm too far behind to take the day off the way I normally would. And I just decided, you know what? I'm gonna take that task off my to-do list that's been sitting there for months, because everything I do is gonna suck today. So I'm gonna do the suckiest thing on my to-do list, right? Because no matter how fun the thing I do today, it's gonna suck. And the fact that this is something I normally enjoy and today it sucks is gonna make it even worse. Right? And so I take the worst thing, the thing that I've been putting off, and sometimes a little bit of magic, like the mood lightens a little bit because now this thing is off my, and I just pick away from the bottom, I go the opposite of the monkey brain. Like, what's the thing I really don't want to do? Might as well do all the crappy things while I'm feeling crappy no matter what I do. Because I have some of those days where there's no point in fighting it. Burnout recovery, if any of you have ever experienced it, when we stop trying to control it, we just live with we enjoy the good days and we learn to navigate the slow days. I don't fight it anymore. But yeah, so that's been one little magic trick. That worst case scenario, I got the worst thing off my list. Best case scenario, it lightens the mood, and Yeah, and I'll keep picking away from the bottom of that list until I see a difference in my mood. I do not do anything fun while I know that no matter what I do, it's gonna suck, because it's just depressing. Like you said, sometimes, the thing that we normally find fun, when it's not fun anymore, like, I don't know, it hurts my soul to try it, right? When it's not gonna work.
Mhm. Excellent. I love that you are taking care of yourself to that extent. Fantastic. And honoring your need to replenish.
It was a question of survival at some point.
Well, really all of it is. Every choice that we make is survival based. That's why the why question is so non-productive to me. Why did you do that? Because in my mind, I needed to do it to survive. That's always the answer.
Yeah.
Always. So whatever you're doing, recognize this is your brain in survival mode. So what do I do with that?
Yeah.
Rather than trying to convince your brain that it's wrong, because it's not.
No, exactly. I've been told, Molly tells me, Molly, Kara, she tells me all the time that, like, I'm a shadow worker, but there's so much light in the shadow. Like, once you get comfortable in the shadows, the way from the shadow to the light is a cakewalk. It's this, we have this. Okay, I'm sorry. Recently someone told me that they attended a talk where the person was saying that the way your body feels when it's excited and the way your body feels when it's anxious is the same thing, right? And her answer to that was, that means that you should just put a smile on it and you go from anxious to excited. And I was like, no, my God, how can that be your takeaway? Your takeaway should be, if the anxious feeling is bad and off center, then so is the excited feeling. And if you pay attention, when we're excited, we are not grounded, and so it's that we have all these things that we think we should avoid, and all these things that we think we should hang on to and seek out, when in reality it's the middle that's the best place to be. Running away from the shadows, makes the torture last for your entire life, and seeking the bright lights guarantees you never look at the shadows, and you always end up, with your hands full but your heart empty, kind of thing. It's the middle that's the place that has it all.
I think it's important for all of us to find our own unique flow. And it's going to be different for each of us. And that's what I love, that you have found, like, that middle place is your most productive flow space. And that's phenomenal. There are some folks, I'm also in the entertainment industry, and there are some folks here who live their life, with everything dialed up to 11, because they are that motivated to make things happen. And I'm like, if that is what's bringing your joy, rock on. I could not successfully go through my life in that way, but I'm built differently. But for them, that is their survival mode. It is that need to drive in a way that fulfills them. So, and I love that you one of the other things I heard you saying is, you don't just put a smile on it. And no, you don't, because that is inauthentic. And anything that we do that is inauthentic is not supporting us. It is not finding our flow. It is denying who we truly are, to just paste a smile on it. And if y'all are like me, women, we have been told our entire lives to put a smile on it. And that is, it may help others in their journey, but it's certainly not supporting us in ours. So knowing who you are, and that's why what we do is so incredibly important for us to share this information, because it is about connecting with who you authentically are, with understanding who you are and embracing who you are. So let's talk about today. Like, so what are some of y'all's takeaways from today? So whether you relate most to the meerkat or the panda or the monkey or a combination of the three, your brain is always doing its best to protect you. And it might need different support than that default advice that is out there, like to put a smile on it. And knowing how you're wired is going to allow you to stop asking what is wrong with me and start asking, what do I need?
I'm gonna start the takeaways because that landed so hard for me. Changing yourself to accommodate someone else, like putting a smile on it, may absolutely help them succeed, but it doesn't help you succeed. Hurt.
Excellent. Any others? Thank you.
Um, I just want to know if there's going to be a recording of this available. Yes. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, we will absolutely make this available. It'll be available on our YouTube channel, and we'll have links in the LinkedIn and on our other platforms so that you'll be able to direct it. So however you found us today, you will see links to that so you can catch the replay of today and all of our sessions. Like I said at the beginning, this is the first Friday, and we do this the first Friday of every month. And we have been doing, how many of this is like number 9, maybe, give or take. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not quite to a year, but we're getting close.
So we have a nice little library. So if this really resonates with you, we do have this, and we love to share this, and we love to have this sense of community that we create here on our First Fridays. And the stuff that we've talked about today and that we talk about in all of our First Fridays, that is just a hint of what we also do in our Genetic Harmony course. It's designed to help you to decode your wiring and to align your habits and your work and your relationships and your self-care with your unique biology. And we're going to cover everything in that, from how you communicate and recharge to how you handle stress, all through the lens of your natural tendencies. So if today sparked your curiosity, and if you are ready to stop trying to fix what was never broken in the first place, then I invite you to check it out. And I thank you so much for being here. I thank you for being curious. I thank you for sharing your thoughts in the chat, for sharing your thoughts vocally with us as well. And thank you for giving yourself permission to be wired exactly as you are.